Well guys, isn't this the morning? We are here at Tatio Geysers and got here for the sunrise. The sun is rising. I have my camera behind me doing a gorgeous time lapse and oh my god, this place is just spectacular.
Nestled high in the Andes Mountains, the Tatio Geysers are one of the most spectacular destinations in the Atacama Desert, a place that had such a stranglehold on me from my visit in 2017 that I knew I had to go back. And I did. I mean, come on, it's not every day that you get to visit the largest geothermal field in the Southern Hemisphere, is it? There are more than 80 geysers and fumaroles spread out over a 12 square mile field, tucked underneath the shadows of the Andes Mountains. Of course, it was going to be spectacular. And the trip started, as all good trips do, at 3 a.m. in the morning. Because the geyser field is at its most active at sunrise, and it's an hour and a half's journey from San Pedro de Atacama, 2 and 2 equals 1 very early start. But it's not so bad when you can see the most incredible night skies. Now, I'm going to do a separate video about the Atacama Desert, and I'm going to talk about stargazing in there. But believe me when I say that getting up at 3 in the morning is not the same when you have sight of the whole of the Milky Way spread out before you. So we trucked our way up to the geyser field and got there for around 4:30 a.m. by which point the first glimpses of light were just hitting the geyser field and some of the fumaroles were really starting to come to life. And this is really where I set up my tripod, wrapped up in my warmest clothes because it was minus 15 degrees Celsius. Now, my British ass really is not made to deal with those temperatures, but I will do it for views like that. And I set up my tripod, I got a time lapse going, and this was the result. And it really is such a spectacle. One by one, the geysers and the fumaroles come to life. The geysers spurting water out into the air and the fumaroles emitting clouds of smoke into the dusky sky. The sky just started turning from like a light purple, then getting touches of gold, and then erupting into full sunlight. And honestly, it really doesn't matter. I'd seen this before, and was it any less spectacular the second time? No. Guys, when I tell you I was cold, I was cold. Of course, I wasn't just gonna stand there and let the camera do the time lapses. It was time to explore. It's the Southern Geyser field that actually has the geysers themselves, which are where you're getting water coming out. You gotta head to the Northern Geyser field, and this is where you actually find the most active fumaroles, which is where the steam is coming out of the ground rather than the actual water. Now, these are really something to behold. You have to be careful because there are marked areas on the ground where you really cannot walk. You got to head to the Southern Geyser field just at the right time to catch one of the fumaroles that is called Nature's Fireworks. Why is it called Nature's Firework? Well, because when the sun hits it at just the right time, you get to see it lit up in a kaleidoscope of colours. And really this happens just as the sun's coming over the Andes Mountains and hitting that steam that's coming out of the fumarole at just the right angle, where you get to see it as almost a kaleidoscope, a rainbow coloured fumarole. This was one of the highlights of that morning. Rodolfo said we had to be there for that time. We got there for that time. That man knew what he was talking about, and it was time to just take a stroll around and explore the rest of the geyser field. Now, I did say earlier on that the geysers are at their most active at sunrise, and so as the sun's rising, the change in temperature basically means that the geysers and the fumaroles are at their most active, and so as the sun gets higher and higher, actually the geyser field becomes less and less active. So this is why you've got to get there exactly for sunrise, or get there just before sunrise, so that you can really catch the field at its most active. By the time it came for us to leave, I was freezing. I said it had been minus 15 when we got there, and really it had not warmed up that much. It warmed up a bit. So my top tip for you on this trip up to El Tatio Geysers is just to make sure that you wrap up warm, layers. Also ensure that you're wearing really thick soled shoes, because the ground is actually so cold that you can, if you're not wearing thick enough shoes, you can feel it penetrating upward. That aside, we had pretty much finished our time down at the geyser field, and so it was time for the next adventure, and Rodolfo had a little trick up his sleeve. I was just like, okay, well, we're gonna go back to San Pedro Atacama for breakfast. Absolutely not. He found the most incredible place where we had a picnic, and I'm gonna drop the location in the description below in a separate map, because if you can go and have breakfast in this place, you're just surrounded by nothing. It's stunning. There are vicunias, there's a stream. It's just in the most beautiful setting, and it's just completely quiet, because you know, most people when they finish up at El Tatio, they just truck on right back down to San Pedro to Atacama. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Go and explore the area around El Tatio, because it is really beautiful, just like the whole of the Atacama region, and like the rest of the Atacama region, it actually just looks quite different. And I'm just going to drop some of the drone footage that I took from that picnic, because worth. One of the things that's really the most stunning about the Atacama is that depending on where you are altitude wise, the landscapes completely change. And this is an area where, like I said, you're really high. It's 4,300 meters at El Tatio, and so that surrounding area is really unique to that kind of altitude. So I would definitely say go and spend some time exploring the area. And just like that, it was time to go home. Was it one of the most incredible days of my life? I think so, yes. I mean, the Atacama is clearly a place that I love. In fact, the whole Altiplano region is a place that I've come back to again and again and again. Even though I'd only gone to Atacama, San Pedro de Atacama and Atacama Desert in 2017, I actually went to Bolivia and Argentina's Altiplano just over the border in 2009. I've been back subsequently. This is an area that I think has just some of the most incredible landscapes that you can ever hope to lay eyes on. Now, like I said, I'm going to be doing a separate video on the Atacama Desert. You can catch the one I've already published, my solo trip to Chile. Go and check that out next. I'm Juliana Barnaby from The Discoveries of. Keep discovering, and I'll see you in the next adventure.